Here in Indonesia, there are 29 million Christians. Now that sounds impressive until you compare it to the number of Muslims, 242 million. My name is Colm Flynn and I'm here in Jakarta, where Pope Francis will start his visit to Southeast Asia, meeting Muslim leaders here to strengthen the relationship between the two religions. Then he will fly 7,000 miles here to the city of Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea to see firsthand the work the church is doing to help those on the margins. Next up, one of the youngest countries in the world, East Timor, where the Pope will meet the President to hear how their country is forging a new path. And finally, Pope Francis will land here in Singapore, where he will celebrate Mass with up to 50,000 people. Well, to try and get a better understanding of why the Pope is visiting these countries, we've decided to travel to all four. This is Pope Francis in Southeast Asia. When Pope Francis announced he was embarking on this journey, the longest trip of his papacy, many were shocked. At 87 years of age, using a wheelchair and with recent health scares, for the Holy Father, this will be a great challenge. It's also a challenge for the hosting countries. The last time Indonesia welcomed a Pope was John Paul II in 1989. In the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, at Our Lady of the Assumption Cathedral, I'm meeting Father Thomas Ismoyo.
This area, around 400 chairs every weekend masses. And in terms of number, we only 3% out of total population. But in terms of our contribution to the society and to the Catholic worldwide, I think we play a significant role.
Living across 17,000 islands, Indonesia has a population of 275 million, of which only around 3% are Catholic.
But we don't feel inferior with the numbers. Quality is more important than quantity.
The predominant religion is Islam, and right across from the cathedral stands one of the largest mosques in the world, Istiqlal. And while there are some reports of Christians being discriminated against in more rural parts of Indonesia, and there were some church attacks years ago, for the most part, there is peace between the religions.
In general, we live peacefully with our brothers and sisters, and we are grateful for that.
How have you obtained, generally speaking, that harmonious relationship between Christians and Muslims here in Indonesia, where in other parts of the world, or in Africa, parts of Europe now, they haven't been able to do that?
Because our founding fathers, who declared the independence of Indonesia, also maintain the unity, even though we are diverse in terms of language, tribes, and also religions.
It was Sukarno, the first president of Indonesia, who insisted that the national mosque be built right across from the cathedral, and not on the other side of the city as others were pushing for. Indonesian Cardinal Ignatius Suharyo.
But the first president insisted the national mosque should be built here, face to the cathedral. That was meant to be very symbolical as the ideal of the Indonesian harmonious life.
The Cardinal told me that the Islam here in Indonesia is different to some of the Islam coming out of, for example, the Middle East, which he says is due to the religions mixing here in society.
Some experts call it cultural Muslim. There's a immersion with the culture of Indonesia.
When Pope Francis arrives here at the cathedral, he will then visit the mosque across the street. But rather than crossing the road, he will use a newly government-constructed tunnel called the Tunnel of Tolerance, which links the grounds of the cathedral and the grounds of the mosque. Inside the Istiqlal Mosque, which holds 250,000 people, Pope Francis will meet the Grand Imam, Nasaruddin Umar.
I think this is the only one tolerance tunnel in the world.
What does the tunnel symbolize?
We are from the same grandfather, Abraham. We worship for the same God. Humanity is only one.
The country may have been able to achieve religious harmony, but prosperity for so many of its people, it has not. And as night falls over the capital, the ordinary people of Jakarta struggle to make a living. Let's talk about the challenge of poverty. Even just 10 minutes from where we're sitting here in the cathedral next to the hotel that we're staying in, the crew, I went for a walk last night down some side streets. I couldn't believe the conditions of the homes I saw people living in the small, narrow markets, people sleeping outside of their shops.
We don't call it poor, but there's a specific term in Indonesia.
What do you call it?
Prasejahtera. Prasejahtera is before reaching a prosperity.
But it's a reality.
Yes.
I'm sure they themselves would say we are poor.
I would say that if we call it poverty as a part of the challenges, I will say that Indonesia is not a poor country, but there's a big gap between the rich and the poor.
Although these poor neighborhoods are just a few minutes from the cathedral, there is no planned meeting between Pope Francis and the poor on this trip, or a tour of these neighborhoods. But the Catholic Church does speak openly about government corruption in Indonesia, which leads to the poorest suffering the most.
I always feel very sorry to find that the people there, our brother, the same Indonesian, they have to live such way of living, very poor, very poor. Indonesia is very, what people say, religious countries. People are very religious. Everybody has religion.
Yes.
But we have to put a question mark. Having religion and being religious. The corruption is so huge. Human trafficking is becoming more widespread. Yes, that is true, we have religion, but we are not very sure if we really a religious person.
Yeah, how can someone claim to be religious when they are corrupting the public?
Precisely.
And is that a big problem here, the problem of, for example, corruption?
Oh, big problem here, big problem. If there is no corruption, Indonesia would have become a prosperous country.
Yanar Nugroho is a Catholic, an author, a university professor, and also worked as Deputy Chief of Staff for the President of Indonesia.
As I would say, the bearer of the moral voice, Catholic Church has been very, very influential.
Yes, it's interesting. When we were talking to the Cardinal here, he made a strong point in the interview that in a country where everyone claims to be religious...
Officially.
Yes. But you have, on the other hand, such widespread corruption. What do you put that down to?
Some economists even said in the past that corruption was like, the lubricants for the government machinery to work, even for the economy to work, because corruption always takes two to tango, right? There's no corruption if there's no bribery.
Yes.
You want to do bribery because you just want to get things fast, but also you do it because the public service is not there. So, you need to work on that. And actually, this is part of when I felt I was called to join and to jump into the public service. If you are 100% Catholic, you also 100% patriotic.
Last-minute preparations are underway to welcome the Holy Father. And for the Catholic community here, this is a very exciting moment.
The coming of Pope is really, for me very amazing. She's 87, right? 87 years old. And she will come, and he will come to Indonesia and to see us. And the presence of Pope physically for us is, really something for us.
After Indonesia, Pope Francis will fly east to the country of Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea gained its independence from Australia in 1975 and today has a population of around 9 million. The country has mountains, dense rainforests, and rich biodiversity. And here in the sprawling capital Port Moresby, in one of the city's busiest markets, I'm meeting Father Lawrence Irakiraj, a priest from India who has been here for 25 years.
So this is the middle of the market where you see people, lot of people around.
So this is the evening time and people are buying and selling and
Usually
hustling.
it's like a finishing of the day.
What's the Catholic community like here in Papua New Guinea?
When you ask Papua New Guinea, it's like I would say mostly like a village. It's not like individual life, it's a communitarian lifestyle in PNG. They're very strong. They have very strong faith because they're very committed. So you know, I am from India.
Yeah.
From comparing to India, it's more here, very strong.
Very strong in
Very
the faith.
strong in faith.
Father Lawrence explains that in a country where you have, for example, 800 languages, trying to bring about unity in Christianity is a difficult thing.
Because we have Christian, but we have different denominations. In the future, there is a problem that they will be divided among the denomination.
So it's divisions among the denominations here
yeah.
in the Christian Church, okay. Cardinal John Ryabat is the Archbishop of Port Moresby and the most senior Catholic in the country.
The last smile from the sun to us.
Yeah, the last little kiss from the sun.
That's right, kiss.
As the sun gives us his last smile of the day, we sit down to talk about some of the challenges for the church here. Your Eminence, you grew up here in Papua New Guinea.
Yes.
What are your memories of growing up as a Catholic in the country?
I was seeing my parents going to the priest, visiting the priest, and you see a community coming together.
So you remember the sense of community?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Papua New Guinea, or community here, they are community addicted.
Addicted?
Addicted, meaning to say, we always live in community, no individual.
No individualism?
No.
Papua New Guinea is community addicted. And indeed, while here we hear from many people the importance of community for the locals. But the problem is, much like the multiple denominations among Christians, the people's communities exist within various tribes and clans, which can cause division and in some cases, vicious violence.
Back in the villages, there are these are some cultures that are very strong, and especially with payback system. We say payback system, but this is an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Really?
That kind of thing.
It's this kind of tribal cultures
That's
and
right.
traditions.
Yeah. Because they remember what happened in the past. So in the modern time, that still stays with them. And they cannot just easily forget.
Even just 1 month ago, here in the Highlands, an estimated 40 people were massacred, others raped, and homes burnt down in a rural tribal dispute.
Massacre in the remote Papua New Guinea.
Even those bits of the jigsaw puzzle that we're able to put together from a great distance are horrifying.
So there are some places still that is very vicious and very strong.
Really?
Yeah, and that is up in the highlands.
And what would happen in those tribal areas in the north?
You see, one of the dioceses that was very kind of, and good people and so on, and it was kind of, we thought that things were okay and so on. But now we are hearing of some, really killing and so on like that. That is one of our dioceses. I don't know why they do it. It's really hard to understand. For me, it's hard. I'm hearing.
Yes.
But it's hard for me to understand why. And it's about the same time, close to, that the SVD missionaries were there. The missionaries came. They did good works, and so on. But how this is coming up again, I don't know what is really, because I think the values that the missionaries came and brought, I'm not sure if the young ones are keeping to it.
While here, Pope Francis is scheduled to visit a local ministry that cares for street children, that is, children who can't afford to attend school, and so roam the streets every day. The sisters offer them a free education.
Here we are teaching them because they are unfortunate children. They cannot go to the normal school. So instead of them living with the parents in the villages, in the settlements areas, we go and look for them. We tell them to bring them here. And we try our best to teach them like ABCD, how to spell their name, how to write, how to read.
The sisters go out to the streets to find them and then bring them here. And as well as teaching them to read and write, they also teach them about hygiene, morals, the faith, and give them fresh, healthy food.
We are preparing for our meal for our students. Every day, Monday to Thursday, we are giving food after the class.
A simple thing that many of us take for granted, a basic fundamental education, is something these children have never known before. And so the priests, nuns and brothers have to start with the very basics.
Can you read the sentence that you read already?
Sisters are just trying your best to help us to read and write.
4 minus 3 equals to 1.
The sisters here say what gives them the most joy is seeing the children leave the school after their studies, now with a better chance in life to have a brighter future.
It's giving me more joy seeing them growing each day in their life. So they feel also that they are special and they feel that they have a place and they are loved by somebody.
As the children in the school wait with excitement for the Pope, we are going west. Next, the Pope will fly to the small, young nation of Timor Leste. This country only gained its full independence in 2002 after centuries of Portuguese colonization and a bloody occupation by Indonesia. The country is 97% Catholic, and in the capital Dili, Pope Francis will meet with the country's president and Nobel Peace Prize winner President Jose Ramos Horta.
From El Salvador.
With a police escort, the president is driving us to his residence where he has agreed to an interview ahead of the Pope's visit. And he tells me his country is not the first, but the second most Catholic nation in the world.
Because I'm told by the Vatican that Vatican City is the most Catholic in the world. I have some doubts, but because it's Vatican telling you, so I accept. So we are
Vatican tell you, so you accept.
We are number 2, only because they are telling me that.
On a more serious note, President Ramos Horta witnessed firsthand the terror that was inflicted on this country during the Indonesian occupation of 1975 to 1999. His own siblings were murdered and he was exiled from the country. Even after the occupation ended and when he returned, there was an assassination attempt made on his life.
I didn't want any more Timorese to lose their life.
And throughout all of this, he saw the role the Catholic Church played.
In the development of the new independent Timor-East, what role did the Catholic Church play in the development of the nation?
The Catholic Church has been here since 1515, when the first missionaries, hungry, starving, thirsty, land on our shores. And for many, many years, the church was the only institution that provided education and then provide shelter for poor people. And then increasingly over as the country evolved, particularly during the struggle for independence, well, if it were not for the church sheltering people, saving lives, speaking out, I don't know whether we would be free today.
Really?
Yes.
Cardinal Virgilio do Carmo da Silva is Timor-Leste's first cardinal, and he too remembers that dark time in recent history.
During that moment, only the church became the voice of the voiceless, the suffering, they were oppressed. As a people, all of us, we feel that wound that has been caused by Indonesian to almost all families.
The people of East Timor, how do you think they have been able to forgive and make peace with their history and with their neighbor Indonesia?
Yes, I think this is one thing which we as Timorese, we are proud of it. I think this is an option.
An option, a choice. The country has, in a way, chosen not to forget, but to forgive and move on. And now, for the strong Catholic country and its people, the visit of Pope Francis is seen as a reaffirming moment. He will be the first Pope to visit them since gaining independence.
The visit of the Pope will be a kind of confirmation, to confirm the identity as a young country in this geographical, in this part of the world.
And the Church is still working today to help those in Timor-Leste, where 40% of the people are below the poverty line. And sometimes, when a child is born with a disability or special need, they are abandoned. And one of the places Pope Francis will visit while he's here is the Irmas Alma School, a home for children with special needs who have been rejected by their families. Some of the children have autism, some Down syndrome, and others just mild physical disabilities. But what they all have in common now is that they are part of this family. Sister Anastasia Muti works here at the centre.
We're living together with the kids. Kids come from every district in Timor-Leste, and then we're living together with us like a family.
Because of how society in Timor-Leste views those with disabilities, these children have, in a way, been cast aside. Sister Gertrudis Baidi is the Mother Superior.
Why do they end up here? What are the circumstances that they come from?
Anak-anak yang tinggal dengan kami di sini. Some of them have families who cannot care for them, but most have been abandoned. Some come to us straight from the hospital, and others from social welfare. Dari masyarakat yang ada di sekitar kita.
And walking around the building, you'll see that there's a lot of laughter.
You're always laughing. Why are you always laughing?
Because life is good.
Life is good.
Yeah.
As the day nears its end, the sisters and children gather outside to pray and sing.
When you start to serve them, just look into their eyes, because those eyes belong to Christ.
And one little girl in particular, who is blind, says that it is the sisters who are her sunshine.
You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Wow.
Finally, the Argentinian Pope will depart Dili, East Timor, and fly around 1,500 miles west to the island of Singapore. Known for its rapid development, diverse culture, and being a global financial hub, Singapore, with its modern skyscrapers, will be the most affluent stop on the Pope's trip, a far cry from the poverty that exists in the previous three countries. Often referred to as the Lion City, Singapore has a population of over 5 million and is predominantly Buddhist. The Catholic faith accounts for around 7% of the population. In the middle of the city is St. Francis Xavier Seminary, shaping the future priests of the country. Father Valerian Chong is the rector of the seminary.
Go and sell what you own and give the money to the poor.
How many seminarians do you have here at the moment?
Currently, we've got 22 seminarians for the Archdiocese of Singapore.
Are those numbers good? Are they healthy for Singapore?
It is good, but it's not replacement level, because we have a number of priests who are retired, who passed on. The 20 will not replace. We can't. Yeah.
Really? So although the numbers are good, they're not at that level you need to replace the priests who are leaving.
At least in this current context, yeah.
Father Valerian tells me that as Singapore's economy and prosperity rises, the time people devote to their spiritual life is decreasing and sometimes even disappearing.
there's a growing number, which is almost more than a fifth, is actually those who profess no religion.
What do you put that down to, that growth in atheism?
I would reckon, I think it's also affluence, materialism. It is a place where you can get what you want, you know, that kind of thing. And it's materially, people have gotten distracted, I would say.
It's a big challenge for the church then, isn't it?
Extremely challenging. And it's, you know, we tell our seminarians and become priests, we've got to take note of these things. It's not so much of just working and servicing the people, but it's more about conscientizing the people about what matters most in life, actually. To get at least the young people to grow and to realize that there is more to just gaining the material things of life.
In the minority Catholic Church here, there are pockets of strong communities, like the one here at Divine Mercy Catholic Church. In the congregation this morning is Gerald Lee with his wife and young child. Passionate about his faith now, it wasn't always that way. And he remembers, too, getting caught up in Singapore's booming financial world.
I spent the early years of my career working in management consulting. And I think during those years, I did find myself becoming like the people who were around me, you know, very driven, type A, gravitating towards certain skills and certain values in life.
And what type of values were they?
I think prioritizing the career at all costs, to a fault. That secular worldview kind of makes it very difficult for somebody to acknowledge or to be conscious of the presence of the divine, the need for the divine.
Gerald Lee hopes that this visit of Pope Francis and the high publicity around it will trigger more young Singaporeans to re-examine their values.
What do you think this upcoming visit of Pope Francis will do for the church in Singapore and for Catholics across the country?
I think it's important for the Pope to remind society at large that there are more important things. Just from my interactions anecdotally with my friends in my circles, I think there actually is a sincere desire to search for more in life. I think that people are seeking. I think it's now the onus is on the church to go out and to find these people and to minister the love of Christ to them in a way that they can receive.
In a fast-paced, young, booming economy, sometimes there are those who feel left behind or forgotten about. Studies have shown that there are high levels of loneliness in those over the age of 60 in Singapore. And for more than 40 years, St. Joseph's Home has been caring for the elderly and the dying. The community was founded and is run by the Canossian Sisters.
Our founders wanted us to serve the poor in different way, you know. For us here is to serve the poor when they are not well. Yeah, that's how our motive is, to serve the poor when whatever we are doing. Yeah.
Here, the residents are treated as people and not patients.
The staff are very nice, they treat me very well.
And it's the first home for the elderly in Singapore that has opened a play school as well, so the young and old can interact and show care and love towards each other. And today the elderly are showing the kids how to make a tasty salad.
So delicious.
It's so delicious.
We could see life in the old people, you know. They are more lively and they feel that the children are like grandchildren.
That's beautiful, sister, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when the elderly do not have the strength to raise their hands, well, they get a little help.
Okay, and then we're going to move our hands, go toss. All the best.
Thank you.
And in another part of the city is the Hearts at Work program. This is an initiative run by Catholic Welfare Services, which hires and pays those who, because of their disabilities, might find it hard to get employment elsewhere. And in fact, here, the word disability doesn't even exist. Everyone is able to do something, and that is recognized and celebrated.
We want to give them a sense of unity. They are also son and daughter of God. Okay, we want to give them as much as care and concern, and I want to treat them like one of our brothers and sisters in Christ. So we don't label them as those others, but rather we call them trainees, or even we call them our friends, our special friends.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, definitely.
I love to work here because I like all my friends here.
See a lot of friends here.
You get to see your friends.
Yeah.
Do you like working here?
Yes. Once I join in here, I feel like very happy.
As you've seen, the Catholic Church in these 4 countries covers a kaleidoscope of realities, from stunning beauty to incredible poverty, from booming nations to developing countries, the ethnic mix, the diversity of religions. But this visit by Pope Francis will be a chance to remind the people here of the universality of the Catholic Church and Rome's closeness to them. And for Pope Francis, at 87 years of age, this trip will certainly not be easy. Until next time, from me, Colm Flynn, here in Southeast Asia, thank you so much for watching.